Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Well, they tied him out.
You know where you're at, the USA Cap. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act on you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Beal coming at you with another review for the channel, and welcome back to the DMV Sports Zone. And in today, guys, we have a special guest, Dave Johnson. Dave, can you please introduce yourself to the few people that don't know who you are?
Well, first of all, I finally got in the DMV Sports Zone. So, I mean, I guess I've made it, and I'm so kind of you to reach out to me and connect with me. But I'm wearing the Wizards hat for a little, we're coming out that win over the Sixers. You're wearing the Wizards shirt, and now we got the Phoenix Suns coming up on Saturday as we visit on the DMV Sports Zone. But I'm the radio play-by-play broadcaster for the Washington Wizards. I also do DC United Television, and maybe if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, you hear me in the mornings on WTOP, where I do morning drive from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that explains why I look like this, because I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. But when the DMV Sports Zone said, we need you this afternoon, I said, all right, I may not look pretty, but I'm there for you.
Yeah, thanks again, Dave. So the first question that we all want to know, can you describe your journey of becoming a radio play-by-play announcer for the Wizards?
We have about an hour. No, I think this is a great lesson. And not that I'm a great lesson, but the blueprint for me is just work hard and you get your breaks. And that's true of so many things, not just broadcasting, but especially broadcasting, because whatever, and you're at Virginia Tech, right? And
Yeah.
Doing things, and whatever you decide to pursue, you'll need your share of some luck and some faith in life. And there'll be times when you think, oh boy, I'll never be able to make it. But I think about the other night, I met a guy in Philadelphia named Wayne Cole, who came up to me and said that, I talked with him in 2011 and, kind of told him the same thing. Just, it's not going to be easy, but you pursue your dreams. And now he's a sports reporter. So that was a great thing to see. But this is what I always wanted to do. And to now make a long story even longer, but I'll try to encapsulate it. I'm battling a disease called multiple sclerosis right now. And it's a disease my mother had, and I had her in a wheelchair. And I bring that up because as I was a kid, I used to cut out from the newspaper back in the day when we had real newspapers and there was no way to go online, cut out lineups and broadcast imaginary games to her. And she was my audience of one while she sat in the wheelchair. And I put on other radio shows and that type of thing for her. So that's what I always wanted to do. And then as I got toward college, I thought, well, I don't know if I could really do that. My dad said, look, that's what you always wanted to do. Go ahead and pursue it. And I went to Towson State University. And this is why it's important to give each other confidence. I would not have probably pursued it if my dad didn't say, come on, you've done it since you were a kid. Just go ahead and pursue it. So that started me on a journey at college where I was a disc jockey doing at a radio station that played hit parade music like Perry Como and Frank Sinatra. And then I was a country music disc jockey. Then I was a rock and roll disc jockey. Then I was a newscaster. Then I sold advertising. Then finally I got a break doing sports in Annapolis at the Naval Academy. But why I'm telling all this, do this, do that, do this, while you're doing it, you're thinking, what am I doing sometimes? But the guy who hired me in Annapolis, I had worked with at that station where I was playing Frank Sinatra records. So in other words, as I'm working midnight to 5 and my other friends are, out having a good time and I'm playing Frank Sinatra records, I'm never thinking that's going to lead to a big break of mine 4 years down the road. So you just never know how the confluence of meeting people and working with people. That's why, it's not always a straight line. Sometimes you just have to say, well, that might not be exactly what I want, but you know what, I'm going to try it anyway, because it's similar enough and who knows where it'll lead. And then that led to my time in Annapolis doing sports on radio there and the broadcast of the Naval Academy. And that led me to WTOP in 1990 or December of 89. And that got me in the Washington market. And that got me in a good platform where that's led to a number of opportunities. So I know I probably just put everybody to sleep. I apologize. So wake up.
Nah.
I'm really going to talk now. It's going to be much more exciting. But the lesson is, I mean, that doesn't mean if you want to be an architect, maybe you know, go be a painter for a while. I don't know. But sometimes, again, when I'm a country music disc jockey, I didn't want to be for my whole life, but every skill set that I've encountered in my life has helped me as a broadcaster. And by the way, the other thing is always work on your writing, because somebody once told me a good writer will never starve, and I strive every day to be a good writer. And even if you don't think you're writing for a living, it helps your thinking process or your broadcasting process to where, and I know I'm not a great example of now, but usually because of your writing skills, you can tell a story succinctly and it can make sense, which is not what I just did, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you, Dave. That was great to hear. So, growing up, did you support any specific team or had a favorite player to watch?
Well, I mean, with the Wizards, well, they were the Bullets, and of course, I was a bit spoiled. I lived in a place called Gambles, Maryland, which go ahead. Yeah, did you know where that is?
I've heard of it, but I don't know where it is though.
I was just gonna say it's actually near Crofton and Bowie in Maryland, which people know where those are. But anyway, that's kind of halfway between Washington and Baltimore. But my dad worked in Baltimore at Bethlehem Steel for an equipment company, and so I was geared to the Baltimore teams even as a young kid, very young kid. You know, I remember, and I barely remember because I was only like 7 or 8 years old, going to actually a Baltimore Bullets game. So I grew up as a Bullets fan, and you know, again, for a long time he was a broadcaster with the team, and you know, Phil Chenier was one of my favorite players, and to get to you know, next, you know, you're working with him was tremendous. And I remember having a basketball hoop in my backyard and practicing the Elvin Hayes turnaround jumper, which nobody to this day I've ever seen do. As a kid, I just thought, well, everybody does that. But, you know, he would go into the corner, do a turnaround jumper that in some cases would have been a three-pointer in today's era. So, you know, I grew up rooting the Orioles, rooting for the Bullets. And then, you know, we got this thing called hockey in our, you know, we were all new to hockey, the Capitals coming to town, and actually a Baltimore Colts fan before they left. But certainly the Bullets players of that era, the Wes Unselds, the Elvin Hayes, they were some of my favorites. Phil Chenier.
Nice. So, you know, radio. Have you ever had one of those on the air moments where you could not believe you were a part of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. You know, I also do soccer, and I did for XM Radio the World Cup in 2006, and that's, you know, obviously the biggest sporting event really in the world. It surpasses the Olympics. So that was clearly one moment in my life where, as I'm about to call the final in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, and you're just like, how did I get here? You know, you're just in your wildest dreams. I didn't expect to be a part of that event, but you know, that certainly sticks out as one event where I've said that. But also, I never lose an appreciation. I always tell people my favorite part of broadcasting is actually getting to the arena early, and you know, I see fans show up, and I watch families, and everybody's happy in a good mood. And let's face it, you know, life is we sometimes say, boy, these days are tough. Well, they've always been tough for whatever reason. But you know, I remember when and as I shared with you, my mother was in a wheelchair. When we would go to those games for a couple hours, didn't matter what was going on in the world or your life, those 2 hours, that's whether the guy made the shot or not, that's all that mattered. And that's why, you know, I can't go bananas when we lose, because look, there's more serious things in life, and it makes you mad, it makes you frustrated, but you're not going to get me angry because I know how hard these athletes work to win. It's not, you know, it's not their fault if they lose, but that's what makes games and broadcasting. I never lose that appreciation. That's why I'm so looking forward to the next home game, where you show up and there's people and there's fans, and you know, we're not fighting about politics, for goodness sakes, or God knows what. It's just, you know, I don't want to debate politics, but if you want to have a fun debate about who's the best player or whatever, yeah, that's okay.
No, I completely agree. Thank you, Dave. So moving on to the Wizards, what is your thoughts on the Wizards front court situation currently?
The front court situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. Well, I guess that's kind of a cliche statement. This has been one of the more unique seasons I've been a part of, just because there is something here with these players. This is a talented group of players, and as we started 10-3, I wasn't thinking, oh well, this is a 70-win team, which it seemed like we were on a pace for that. But having said that, it's also not a team that's had some of its recent struggles. So I think the challenge right now is to get that happy medium. You don't want to lose. You're not going to necessarily win 10 of 13 games, but you shouldn't lose. You shouldn't lose 10 of 13 games. I think, and I said that this is summer, the one thing that was exciting about all the moves we've made, it's suddenly, we're a team with, it's not just two players, and then you kind of try to figure out, all right, who's behind Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook and who's going to step up. It really is a team with a lot of options. I mean, some would argue part of the problem is too many options right now as we're trying to figure out how to put the pieces together. But, with the situation like with the centers, the minute you think you have too many centers, right before you play Joel Embiid, you lose Thomas Bryant, and suddenly to play Joel Embiid, you need 6 centers. And so it's a curious time, and it's going to be interesting to see how Wes Unseld Jr. as Thomas Bryant, it's not a serious injury, as he comes back, and how he fits it in, because Thomas Bryant's a young, exciting player. We're talking a center that part of the modern center who can run the court, who can take you outside. Daniel Gafford can play above the rim. Montrezl Harrell gets more out of a 6'7" body than I think anybody I've ever seen in my life, as he was battling Embiid, who's, by the way, every bit of 7 foot the other night. So I still believe it's a nice problem to have, because those are 3 players that offer something different. And now, how do we all make it work?
Mm-hmm. I agree. It is interesting. So you talked about the young guys, but so far this season, what are your thoughts on the performances of Rui Hachimura, Kyle Kuzma, Deni Avdija, all those guys?
Kyle Kuzma is playing at an all-star level. I know he's not an all-star, but he's playing some of the best basketball of his career. And this is why I think there's more left in this team, or I believed in this team, because it is a collection of players that when you talk about the Kyle Kuzma or the Contavious Caldwell-Pope, that are coming here saying, all right, well, this is my opportunity with the Wizards. I mean, when Kyle Kuzma was in LA, as he said, he had to find ways to impact the game. He's not going to get a lot of touches with a guy named LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and et cetera, et cetera. So he became a better rebounder. Well, now he comes to Washington. Yeah, we need you to rebound, but we need you to do a little of everything. And Kyle Kuzma in attack mode, where his size and skill set, he's a mismatch every time. He's 6'10" and doing that. So, and his rebounding numbers, and it's just been so fun to watch. You mentioned Deni Avdija. I keep saying this. He's the best defender on the Wizards. And I'm watching him. He's not defending second unit guys. I'm watching him over the last year and a half, especially, get assigned to some of the toughest matchups out there, 1 through 4. And he even thinks he can guard a center as well. But watching him, I called him the other night a mature defender, because he doesn't bite for fakes. He's under control. He's doing it cerebrally, and you can tell he knows the scouting report. He knows which way a guy is going to go, whether it's left or right. And he's young, and that's why I still think back to when we drafted Deni Avdija, and I keep forgetting the commentator's name on the ESPN coverage of the draft, and said, wow, we may look down the road as Deni Avdija of the steal of the draft. Well, the way he is playing defense, and his versatility at defense, I think that could prove out, because the scoring part he's going to figure out on a consistent basis, but the defensive work he does is just tremendous. And then, and this is the exciting part of this team. We haven't finished unwrapping these presents like a Deni Avdija. He's a young player. A Rui Hachimura, we're seeing glimpses of what he can do. And sometimes, when he makes a strong move now, you're like, wow, that's not the Rui of the rookie year. And so, there's some wow in these guys, and they're young, and that's what's exciting. And this is, I'm not going to try to pretend, we're ready to win a championship or not, but this is how teams that are built for long-term success, you start to have young players like a Denny, like a Rui, start to show you what they can do, and look out if they stay healthy down the road 2 years. You're going to think it's going to be special. We've witnessed it. Look, Bradley Beal was not a 30-point a game scorer when he first came in the league, but he developed into a superstar over time, and that's what's happening with some of our younger guys. So, or certainly Denny and Rui. So that's what part of it makes us a fun team. It's not been as much fun as some of the times this year, but I think the game against Philadelphia at the start of February reminded us, this team does know how to play some good basketball against an elite team, because there was no asterisks next to that game. Philly, believe me, Philly lost badly in DC. They wanted to beat the Wizards, and they were playing at home, and the Wizards beat them straight up 106-103.
Yeah, that was a great game. Even the block by Kuzma and Embiid, it was amazing. So you talked about it. Too many options. Trade deadline is coming up. Do you think the Wizards will be buyers or sellers?
I never when I don't answer the question directly, people always say, "Well, he worked with the team in evades." But once upon a time, you could easily figure out trades. But I never was good in math as a student. So then you've got to figure out salaries and that type of thing. But that's a real good question. And I took calls on the post-game show the other night as people were saying, well, we're only 50 games in. Now we're deep into the season now that we get to 50 games. But with this team only being together, it's really only together 50 games because, there's not many players left from last year. So this is very much a new team. So 50 games in the grand scheme of things, you don't want it to take 500 games, but 50 games is not a long time to really, see what is it we do have. I think, I think it's going to have to come down to, what Tommy Shepard, the general manager, if somebody's looking to move somebody he believes that will be the right fit to this mix of players. And that's the key with trades. Sometimes they'll look good on paper, but you've got to take into account chemistry. All right, will this guy actually fit with this group of players? And what do you have to give up? And it was like the one caller was saying the other night, everybody's going to want a Denny Avdia. Everybody's going to, maybe it's an over exaggeration, but a lot of teams no doubt would be interested in a Denny or a Rui. But do you want to give up on those guys? I personally don't. Mm-hmm. So when you have the number of options you have, that's a real tough question. And again, why trying to speculate the Wizards are going to trade for X player? I never saw, quite frankly, the Russell Westbrook trade coming, not because it turned out to be a brilliant move, but again, to make that work with the dollars, there were only a few teams, maybe one team you could trade him to, the Lakers, and they did. So it's the next, and we're talking February 10th, the trade deadline. So this is next few days, we're going to see.
Yeah, we're going to see. Yeah. So you talked about him as well. What are your thoughts on Bradley Beal's future in Washington?
I just think the only thing I can say on that is I think it was a strong statement by Bradley that, that he wanted to, sign the contract he did because he didn't have to at that time. So I think it says a lot about who Bradley is and all. He backed up his statements that he wanted to be a part of the solution here in Washington, in an age where so many players, and I'm not criticizing them, but because there's a limited time you have to be a professional athlete, but so many players will say, well, I don't want to wait around. I want to go to that team. And that's not what he did. Now, we're coming up to another juncture where he could decide to go elsewhere. He could, make more money staying with the Wizards. But at this point, I think for him, it's not about money. It's about, does he want to continue to be a part of the Wizard solution, or, that's a tough question to answer now. And I just think all we can do is acknowledge what he has done so far, and that was stay here through not the easiest period. And what's next, I really don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, I agree. One of my favorite players on the Wizards, just seeing him grow with John Wall and then eventually becoming a leader himself, it's been great. So moving on to like NBA questions, when you're doing radio, who's your favorite non-Wizard player to watch and why?
Wow. It's not Joel Embiid because he's just amazing and he feels like he could score if he could score 50 points as well. Boy, I hadn't thought about that today. That's one of the things about this league, and I hope as people listen or watch, it's there are billions of people on the planet, and there's only 500 NBA players. So we really have the best of the best. So it's hard to pinpoint necessarily one player that I've got to definitely see him. I'm not I certainly respect LeBron James, but that's not a player that I necessarily have to watch because I think again I respect LeBron James. He is tremendous athlete, tremendous skill set for his size and what he's done. You can't argue with, but that's a tough question. I don't know if I thought about that. I'm so focused on our team. So,
no, you're good. If you get that answer, let me know.
Yeah, no, I'll come back to that. Wow, you got me. You stumped me.
Yeah, no,
but we've got so many young players, and that's what's great about the NBA. I think people used to say, "Oh, what's going to happen after Magic and Bird leave?" Well, we found out. What's going to happen after Michael leave? Well, we found out. The superstars, keep coming. I mean, Steph Curry. That to me is a special player to watch. In terms of what he does, again, and that's what makes it a beautiful game. Does he walk into the gym and right away you say, "Oh boy, he's gonna," you don't look at him. And as many teams, colleges, he had Davidson and Virginia Tech, or who knows what, they overlooked him, and now he's one of the most spectacular players on the planet. So to me, he's a special player that I he's to me must watch. I really get a thrill out of seeing him and what he does with the Golden State Warriors. Now, see, I'm going to start listing 10 players. Now that you got me thinking about other players in Denver. Jokic, what he can do. Now here we go. Now we're going to take up another hour. Doncic in Dallas. So you start to. We just called Russell Westbrook's triple-double with, breaking the Robinson record. Well, that was the unbreakable record. Well, the way basketball is today and these guys with multiple skills and can pass as well as rebound and score, maybe it won't be the unbreakable record.
Yeah. So we got to end the show like this, Dave. Top 5 NBA players of all time. Go.
Go. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, those are 3 that come right out of the gut. I still think, Magic just, whoever heard, at least as I was growing up, you didn't hear of a 6'8" point guard or guys with that was just unheard of. Again, Michael Jordan, what he was able to do, and I was able to call some of his games. And to this day, I've never seen a more competitive person. He would race you to the elevator if he could. I didn't see him play, but calling the record, and I studied more about him. Oscar Robertson has to be, in my mind, that way. And also, I'm going to throw in Kobe Bryant there because, and again, this is I wasn't planning on this question, so I'm giving you the gut reaction, and I know I'm leaving out God knows how many, but Kobe Bryant just came to mind because I could think of so many times when I thought, oh, that's a perfect defense. There's 3 guys on him, including the beer vendor in the front row, and he still makes a shot.
Nah, I agree. Yeah, those players, phenomenal to watch. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. But thanks again, Dave. I know you're a busy man with a busy schedule, taking the time out for this interview. Before we go, do you want to plug in any of your social media or anything that you're working on right now?
Well, it's at Dave J Sports, and if people are in places like Blacksburg, in fact, as a gift for allowing me on the show, I've got to buy you an NBA audio pass because for $10 for the whole season on your phone, you can listen to any radio broadcast. I'm holding up a phone, you probably can't see it, and you can listen to Wizards Radio, but any NBA audio broadcast because I've done the studies, and if you listen and study at the same time, you become a smarter person. So it's amazing how that happens. So that's why you multitask. So I hope people do follow me on social media at Dave J Sports, and I hope people continue to lock into the DMV Sports Zone, because this is what it's about. Moments like this where you have passionate people talking about sports. That's what makes it a better world. And people say, aha, he's nuts. He hadn't got enough sleep. He's going crazy. I'm not going crazy. I'm telling you, I'm serious. This is quality time. And I appreciate people spending time with you and me this afternoon.
Yeah. Thanks again, Dave. That's pretty much it, guys. Peace.